No,
Oh, maybe she was too.
No, sir.
she's on here.
She got a lot of Zoom, she.
Yes. We good? All right, I have that it is 7 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, move on to roll call.
Eric Beecher, Jason Schultz, Matt Hirsch,
Lauren Tice Miller, Rosa Cavazos,
Rocky Business.
Jennifer. Sorry, Jennifer. Wendy Booth.
Scott Hahn.
Sorry.
Ed West.
Tim Urick,
Sydney Finn. I think I saw Blair around here somewhere. Okay. And then online we have Renee Hansen and Sarah Hoyer. All right, we'll move on to approval of the agenda and minutes.
move for approval. Second.
I've got a motion by Jason and a second by Eric. All in favor, show of hands. And Renee's hand is showing for a 6-0 vote. All right, communications, comments, concerns from patrons. Sarah, did we have any emails this week? We had no emails this week. All right, moving on to action items, business by consent.
Move for approval. Second.
I've got a motion by Eric and a second by Jason. All in favor, show of hands. Renee's hand is up for a 6-0 vote. All right. Item B, approve sale and recycle of high school social studies books.
And we got a pile of old social studies books of various types. They just need to, most of them are just recyclable. Nobody wants them, but there are some geography books we're going to sell back for a small fee. But just need approval to either dispose or recycle.
I've got a motion by Renee. Do I have a second?
Rosa second.
And a second by Rosa. All in favor, show of hands. And Renee's hand is up for a 6-0 vote. Okay, moving on to item C, approve USD 450 learning scenario movement.
If you can put that up on the screen.
I think you're going to have to take it over for that. Right.
Okay. So we talked about our last meeting, we were going to make a scorecard for us, so we've created a scorecard. It'll show where we were at this time. So you can see we have the average of our 2 weeks from the county. The county actually went down. They were at a 15 this week. And so if we take the 15 and the 17 and average them, gives us 16. So put us in the high orange category. Looking at the number of distribution of cases within the schools, we're in the yellow for Shawnee Heights right now. We've had some isolated cases, but nothing that's actually taking place in the building right now, which is great. But some that were outside before school started, we were just working through them. So yellow on that. Staff absenteeism, I'm trying to think, I think we have one that is currently quarantining. So otherwise, instructional needs, we're able to meet all our needs, no issues on staff right now, so green low. The recommendation of the learning scenario we're going to make is to stay right where we are in hybrid, no change, and work through that. The below that, you'll see what we're going to do. We'll do this each week, is report our cases. Our first week of school, you'll see the data for that. Again, those 5 cases, like we talked about in the email we sent out and everything, those were actually occurred before school started, and those students were not in attendance when they were in quarantine at all. So we will track that each week and show you the 2 weeks each week on the website. We'll keep that on the website, so keep it updated and report that out. So the recommendation is to continue in the hybrid mode. I recommend approval for that.
Matt, do we need to take action?
I wouldn't technically need to because we're already in the hybrid, so it wouldn't be a change. It's up to you guys if you want to.
So moved.
Okay, I've had a motion by Jason.
Second.
Got a second by Rocky. All in favor, show of hands. Renee's hand is up for a 6-0 vote. Okay, item D, approve revisions to policy JHCAA.
Let's see if we've got that. Nope. I think you've got it in your stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it with me right now. But basically what we're asking here is, it's the JHCAA is a gang activity policy. When we updated the high school handbook earlier this year, we changed gang activity to organized group activities. And so this is just to reflect in our board policy that same change of verbiage from gang to organized group. So we'll recommend approval on that.
So moved.
I've got a motion by Eric. Do I have a second? Rosa, second. And a second by Rosa. All in favor, show of hands. And Renee's hand is up for a 6-0 vote. All right, moving on to approve pay application to Schneider Electric.
This is just the paying Schneider Electric for work completed to this point. The amount due is $395,804.41. Nathan will probably give you an update when we get to status reports on where we're at on it. But the project's going along well and moving along good. So I recommend approval on that.
Most who can't afford not to pay our bills, so moved. Second.
I have a motion by Jason and a second by Eric. All in favor, show of hands. And Renee's hand is up for a 6-0 vote. All right, discussion item, superintendent's report.
First off, I know I've updated you, but I want to make sure everybody's aware that the USDA had the waiver. All students until the end of December, free lunches, free breakfast for every student in our district. I want to just publicly thank Tara for her work on this. I know she didn't have to make it happen, but we had to do paperwork to get our side done. She got that done literally in a day, and the next day we're giving out free meals. And that's, to me, a huge benefit to every patron of our district that will definitely, they'll feel it, and it'll be good for them. So I want to thank her for all her work on that. That's a neat thing for us. I also wanted to thank, you already approved tonight the donation. That was from the Topeka Junior League. They collected and donated a huge supply of school supplies. And they donated it all to Shawnee Heights. There were probably 7, 8 of the members that came out the other day and delivered it all and piled it, and they were all excited to give it to us. So I just wanted to publicly thank the Junior League for supporting Shawnee Heights schools and for supporting our students. I think we'll put that to good use, and so I appreciate that. The last item I had is I wanted to apologize for how the cases came out in the paper the other day. That was totally unintentional on how it went out. Not how we would want that to happen. And so I apologize how that worked out. But with that, it did kind of get us to rethinking and relooking at how we were communicating, how we were going to release that. The stuff we've talked about, but it's good to refresh ourselves and how we're going to plan on getting that information out to the public, getting the information out to our patrons, and it's a good time to kind of talk about that. I'm going to steal the screen again. This is a sample of what we could send out to our public as long as everybody's in agreement on kind of what we're thinking. The hardest thing with reporting out when we have positive cases is we still have to remember that we have to follow guidelines on confidentiality of information. Whether they're a staff member with COVID or a student with COVID, they have rights to confidentiality. And so we always have to be very careful and respectful of that. But what this kind of talks through is what we will do and what we will not do. Our initial kind of plan on this. So one thing, I'll just kind of read through. What we will do is we'll contact families of anyone determined to be a close contact. When we have cases, right, if that case happened in a building, we would send them home because they have, let's say they have 2 symptoms or more. If you have 2 symptoms or more of COVID, we send you home, we recommend you be tested. At that point, we're going to collect close contact information. None of those close contacts have to quarantine yet because that person is not positive yet. But we're getting ready, just in case. And so we collect information, we know who they are, but if they do become a positive case, we will make sure and recontact those families, the people that are determined to be close contacts, and let them know. We'll let them know what it means to be quarantined. We have a letter that goes out to them. We've been sending those out to anybody that needs to be quarantined for some reason. We're going to continue to support those kids in learning. The nice thing right now is they don't just go home and not participate. They can participate in remote learning immediately. And so as long as they're able, they're going to be participating in that remote learning. We're going to close classrooms and primary spaces occupied by people tested positive. This occurs before they get tested positive, I'll be honest. If this is a person who has symptoms in a school, we're going to shut that room down and clean it right away. We're not going to wait for a positive test. That wouldn't make any sense. That person, from the time they're tested to the time they're tested positive, could be up to 5 days or more. We don't want to wait that long to clean a classroom. So that actually occurs a little earlier. We're going to leave it in here because that's something we definitely do. We're going to inform other students and staff in that primary space that an individual has tested positive. So if the person tests positive, we're going to make sure if it's like an elementary classroom, even if you're not considered a close contact, we're going to let that elementary classroom know because that's important. I mean, that's somebody they spend a lot of time with. And various people at the high school or middle school, depending on the situation. We're also going to conduct intensive cleaning of the classroom before we reopen it. And we're going to continue to provide important health information. What we will not do, as the plan is right now, is provide personal identifiable information on an infected person. So even if we're notifying you, we're not going to tell you who they are, all that information. That's still confidential. So that's important to know. We're not going to send communication to all parents, staff in the school unless it's deemed necessary. I won't say we'll never do it, but For many cases, they're isolated in a classroom, isolated to a small group. Those people will definitely be contacted and we'll be working with them, but that doesn't mean we need to identify and tell everybody. I know that's a hard thing for some to hear, but it's still it's a way to protect people's confidentiality and their rights. So at this point, that's where we're at on that. And last of all, we will not immediately close school for one positive case. We will look at each case individually and see where we go with it. So that kind of gives you some thoughts on that. As we get to, you guys are making comments. If you have comments and thoughts on that, we'd be glad to hear it. We talked a lot with administrators today, kind of refreshing ourselves on our procedures for that. And hopefully that helps a little bit with kind of our thoughts on that, and then we can go from there. This is something we can send out once we decide this is what we're going to do, and we'll communicate that just so people are aware of it and be a little more thorough with that. As far as number of cases, like I said with the report, we're gonna give that every week. Every week I'll update it on the website. Every 2 to 3 weeks we'll come to the board with what are we going to do for learning, but I'll make sure on the website that every week those updates keep coming in. So people are aware of what's going on in our schools and if we have new cases or not. So I think that's important. But it'll be just those numbers.
So at what point did you say you'll notify staff that only if it involves their building or they were in close contact? Is that what you said?
It's gonna, the principals will be the ones that work with all that, so it'll be mostly just the people that are considered either close contacts or if it's a larger case, like we'll give an example, like Mr. Urick, we had a group of volleyball girls that all got quarantined because we had to work with that. In that case, he did notify the staff because there were so many people involved in that quarantine situation. So we did work with that. So it's just going to depend case by case what needs to be contacted. But most of the time, it's just going to be those people we know are involved with it and need to have that information.
And if a teacher is quarantined, you will also clean all of their space as well before a substitute is brought in?
Yeah, when we're notified, either notified that they are quarantined because of an outside situation or it happens in the school day, once we know that, yes, and immediately we'll have that communication from the principals to the custodians, and cleaning will take place, and right away we'll go from there.
Last question.
Yep.
How does this impact siblings? If a student is in a building, let's say at the middle school, there's a middle school student who's quarantined, but there are siblings in a lower level or a higher level even, do they have to join the quarantine as well?
If you're quarantined because you are a close contact with somebody that's positive, so I've got somebody over here that's positive, I'm a close contact, or my brother is a close contact, so they have to quarantine for 14 days. I'm a sibling of my brother, but I don't have any connection to this first person, then no. It's only when you have a direct close contact with the person who's positive.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I think this was great.
That's all I got.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to a report from Sarah.
As you guys know, we recently finished the budget. We printing it, getting it format for all of you guys. And I'd like to know before we print copies to the next board meeting, who all wants a printed copy. Not everybody wants a printed copy of the budget, and I do have a printed copy with me in my board bag at every meeting. So we would have it if we needed it during a meeting, and then we also have the budget and some other aspects and parts of the budget that are always loaded to the website. Once the budget is certified around the 25th or just after the 25th of the month, and so you have that. If anyone wants a full, complete printed copy, I can get them. I just need to know who. If you can let Matt know at the end of the meeting, and then we'll bring them, or you guys can just email me if you want one. Additionally, we just finished the ATE annual year that looks at the prior year's budget, tells the state what we actually spent on some categories of things like, or categories of aid like driver's ed or transportation state aid, things like that, and they will make adjustments to our current year budget to reflect anything that we may have owed or were overpaid for in the prior year. There's several documents that I have to provide to them that come from the transportation department from Dwayne and Javon and those guys over there, and they provide a lot of information for me, and they had a lot going on this year when they did need to provide it, and so I wanted to do a public thanks because they provide that information for me every year, and it is very detailed information. Then I'm working on now the Elementary and Secondary Schools Act building report, which is a new report that requires us to break all of our expenditures down by building. I'm still not quite sure what they use the report for, but it is something that they're wanting us to do, and so I'll be working on that. It's due on the 25th, and then on the 20th, as you know, is the annual count day. So the SO66, the principal's building reports, and their support staff will all be working on getting that in, and that is primarily for current year funding. So it will fund next year, but it also partially funds your budget for this year. And so we'll be working on that towards the end of this month. I also want to give another thank you to the business office team. They submitted the first upload of all of our staff for the new contract year that's due in August, and last year there were lots of issues with that because we're in the new system, and they worked really hard to understand how that upload impacts the payroll and other aspects of the system, and got that uploaded, no problems this year, and they have to touch a lot of different employees in order to get that in right. So I just wanted to thank them because they worked really hard on it, and we're very proud that they got that in and got it going. And then I wanted to just ditto what Matt said about Tara on the food service grants that she's been working on. She's worked really hard, as you know, since the pandemic, the onset of the pandemic, and this is just another example of how, she knew about it the day that I found out about it. I got the email. I emailed it to her maybe a minute after I got it. It popped into my inbox, and she was already on a call and working on the grant process. So just wanted to ditto things for her. That's it for me. Any questions?
I don't see. Thanks, Sarah. All right, we'll move on to Jennifer.
You guys have your voting, please.
Typed up some notes.
And if you would also introduce yourself so the people watching at home know who you are, please.
So I'm Jennifer, I'm the principal at Tecumseh South Elementary School. So our first week was wonderful. It was great to have kids back in the building and hear teachers teaching inside the buildings. It was quite a high. All of our students had technology from day one, which was a tremendous feat. So I have to give thanks out to our paras, our tutors, and our IT department. They worked tirelessly to help make that happen. It was a huge thing. The logistics of getting the hybrid to start, for school to actually start, was quite a feat as well. I just wanted to really say a great thanks to everyone in the district who made that happen, because it took every single one of us to make it happen. As you all know, school does run a little differently now than it has in years past. So to help social distance, we have spots on the floor to remind students to stay 6 feet apart. Students are eating in our cafeteria, and they're also rotating eating in their own classrooms. So that looks a little bit different. Our cafeteria used to hold I don't know how many kids, but a lot of grades were in there at the same time. And right now it only holds 36 kids, so it's a completely different scenario. Kids are really spaced out. We kind of used the same, seating, the way we seat like the buses do. So we fill to the back all the way to the front to kind of keep the cross-contamination to a very minimum. Our students they still have 2 recesses a day, just like they always have, but we've separated our playgrounds by putting cones in between them. That way our kids can still social distance, but our classes are completely separated, so there's no cross-contamination. The temperature checks have gone well. We have had a few issues with some of the scanners. We've used some of the tech help to help make it better. The handheld scanners have been a great help as well. It was actually the biggest help for our elementary kiddos because even with the step stools that we bought, they still couldn't get to the screen. So we were like tilting it all over. It was kind of crazy. So those have been very helpful. We actually did have a parent who was coming in for a meeting. They needed some help with technology. We were going to help them. And the temperature scanner actually detected a temperature. We had them wait, set, use the hand scanner. It still was the same. And so we advised them that we couldn't let them in the building. I gave them my card and they could contact us at a later date. So those have been working. As you all know, technology has been a little bit of an issue with everybody getting used to Teams and how it works. Change is always hard. In fact, I was on a Zoom meeting with our PTO prior to coming here, and because I've been used to using Teams, I forgot how to use Zoom. So the change is hard. We're getting through it every day. Last week, every day was a better day. We've been calling all of our parents and students who've been absent from those team meetings. So my instructional coach, Mr. Singleton, and I, we have been calling parents daily, every day. There was less parents to call, so I think that was helpful. And then my last thing that I wanted to report was, I think you need to know that we need to give our teachers a big round of applause, just not mine, but everyone's here, because they are working so hard to make this a wonderful year for the students, that they really need to be acknowledged and have a big shout out. So, any questions about Tecumseh South?
Thank you very much for the update. Wendy?
Hello, I'm Wendy Baruth from Shez. I just kind of wanted to say ditto to everything, honestly, that Jennifer said. It has been an amazing start. I don't even know where to start, gosh. So our theme this year at Shez is Better Together, and I will tell you from the very beginning of PD, we have loved it, dreamed it, built it as one family, which has been super amazing to see. I think this is the year where our whole staff at Shez is truly, truly cohesive inside and out, and it's just been cool to watch. Like Jennifer said, our paras, our lit tutors came in on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays to help us get technology set up. So they helped our teacher aide and Brian and Blair, and so that's been very cool to see. Without them, I don't think our kids would all have technology, but they've also been answering a lot of questions and, hey, what about this? And do you know if you can do this? And they've been helping each other, not just as support staff, but our teachers too. And so we really are one big, cohesive, better together team. Like Jennifer, our day looks a little different than normal. We have some arrows on the floors getting a flow of traffic that we're still truthfully getting used to, but we're working on it. And it's funny to just all walk down the hall and the kids will see me and they're like, wrong way, sorry. And then they quickly turn and move around. And it's just, things that we have to work on. We do have spots on the floors and arrows. Thank you to Tiffany Kinch for bringing us signage. just everything from wear your mask to wash your hands to 6 feet apart to go this way, everything. So thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate you. We have teachers that obviously measure desks, and so it's very, very odd to walk into a classroom with 6 kids in it and go, where is everybody? But then you see the level of engagement and the depth that our teachers are already able to teach. It's amazing. Week 2, really day 3 with these kiddos in person. Shout out to Amy Simpson, who said, wow, Wendy, I got through my whole lesson plan on the first day, and if you know anything about kindergarten, that's like, it's amazing. So that was super cool. So our teachers are sad to not have everybody at once, yet thankful for the opportunity to be in the building with kiddos. We changed things a little bit with our specials. We have one class going to PE/music. We have a rotation system. And then this year, Mrs. Hummer and I came up with something called creative arts. And so our kids, if they aren't in PE or music, they do creative arts, which can be yoga, can be meditation, can be a craft or something like that. So that's been cool to see. We already have giant octopus on the walls. So they built it together as a class. So that's been neat. Our recess has been moved to 3 different areas, and it's a rotation basis. Our lunch is about the same as Jennifer's. We have only 1 class per grade level in the cafeteria, and the other 2 are in classrooms. So that's been a little tricky trying to figure out who's going where as far as trash cans and people and everything that I didn't think about, truthfully, until the day before school started. So that was fun. And a frantic call to Becky. Our parent pickup has done well. We've cut our time down, so that's a big relief, I think. Kids are social distancing in line, both inside and outside, getting on and off buses. Overall, Chess is rocking this year. I'm super, super proud to be a Thunderbolt. Do you guys have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy.
Good evening, I'm Stacy Giebler, Elementary Curriculum Director for Shawnee Heights School District. I just would like to thank our principals. They're amazing. They have done amazing work, and they answer questions and solve problems with smiles on their faces tirelessly, and they deserve so much thanks. So thank you guys very much for all your work. 5 days now. So on Freckle, I can look and see how many minutes kids are spending on Freckle. I can look on a couple of other programs that we've purchased recently. Zern is one of those, and I can see that kids have been working on them. So kids really are doing things. They really are, I can't say that they're progressing, but they're doing things. And the teachers are doing amazing things. I get to see what's on Seesaw and Canvas. I get to see those amazing videos that they're putting out, and there are hiccups along the way, but for the most part, it's really been amazing to watch the kind of things that our teachers and principals are doing. So it's been a pleasure. Questions for me?
I had a question for you. Actually, This is a question from Erica. She asked me to ask this, but she wanted to know if you could explain or elaborate more on why we are having to do learning logs.
Oh, sure. The short answer is because the state said so. So you can read all about that particular all the details on a KSDE, the Navigating Change link, and it's an appendix. I don't know whatever it is. Matt can pull it up. It looks like he's headed that way, but it's an appendix something or other. But it's about remote learning, and one of the things that is required by KSDE and the legislature. We have a lot of bosses, and so the people who are our bosses require us to take attendance daily, because that is state law, and also they can define what counts as a day. So if you look at remote learning here, and you go first paragraph, first page there, Matt. Where it says verification for audit right there in the middle. So when we get audited every year to see how many kids are actually attending our schools. We are accountable for that because it is a state law, and that's how we, when we get our money from taxes to pay our bills, that goes into the general fund. So the way they decide how much money we get as a district to fund the football program and the education and pay the electricity bill that you just paid and so on, it has to do with this audit and how many kids are actually attending our schools. And so these 5 bullets are the requirements for that audit. We have to list any and all students receiving remote learning services as of the first day of school through August 4th. The students that count must be enrolled on September 21st. They must have daily, meaningful connection with a local teacher that is employed by the district. Such connection can be through telephone or interactive video conferencing. Contact is required with at least one teacher, not all teachers. So that's the reason for the morning meetings that we're doing. And then students must maintain a daily log of activities signed by both the student, parent, or responsible adults and submitted to the district. For an example, the remote learning log is on page 7. So that is the reason for the learning log right there. And then there's the assurances that we showed you a couple meetings ago. So if you go to page 7, this is an example of the learning log. And when you dig deeper with the state auditor, which Mrs. Bell spent a lot of time with KSDE officials and the state auditor, and this is not exact. This would be accurate, but filling out a piece of paper and tracking down a piece of paper daily for 170 days or whatever, how many days, times 3,600 some students is unreasonable. So it needed to be typable, it needed to be able to be calculated, and she submitted a proposal. They returned it. The product that we have now has been submitted and approved by KSDE and the state. So that's the reason, that's the long answer for the learning log. But yeah, they're cumbersome and annoying, and we're doing the best we can to make them easier for parents.
So when they're filling out the learning log, if they misclassify an activity under wrong subject, is that a big deal?
That is not a big deal.
Okay.
What we're looking for is the activities that they're doing are probably going to match what the teacher has assigned, and then the number of minutes. They're looking for that 360 minutes. That's not a big deal. So if you think about it too, the 360 minutes is not just, when you're at school, you're not just in your seat doing math and reading and social studies and science. You're doing also recess, you're also doing PE, you're also doing music, so those fit as well. Good question. What else?
I think that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany.
I'm zooming up to myself before I get up there. My name is Tiffany Kent. I'm the Communications Director. First of all, I am working on the audio for our families at home.
I've ordered some equipment, so hopefully by next board meeting that equipment will come in and we can try it that way and see if it's any better. It was awesome to be able to cover the first day of school last week. Seems like I've been in my office in a different communication mode since March, and so it was a lot of fun to go out and cover that first day of school. So I really enjoyed that, and the teachers and everyone is just doing an amazing job. I did want to bring up that the foundation's breakfast, they are postponing that until March 26th. So a letter will go out to their sponsors, their past sponsors, and to let them know that it's happening, it's just going to be later. It's usually in October. So. And other than that, I've just been working hard on improving the communication and working out the kinks and trying to get everything moving smoothly. Is there any questions for me?
Just want to say good work on putting together, or collaborating with Matt and everybody else for putting together the document on the communication process.
Thank you.
It was really good. Thank you. Blair.
Good evening, I'm Blair Anderson, Technology Director. A couple things to update you on. One is we had a power blink this afternoon about 12:53. We've been working with AT&T up until this meeting to try to get a trouble ticket opened, but have not been able to do so because they cannot find our phone numbers or account. We've talked to 17 different departments. So it's been kind of frustrating. So no external calls coming in or going out of the district at this point. It continues to be a priority for us. I did see just about 5 minutes ago on Facebook, people that live south of the district cannot receive or place calls either with AT&T. So in our mind, we have it down to the AT&T box outside of central office. I cannot confirm that. Obviously, we don't have access to that, but that is a major station there. So we'll see what happens the rest of tonight and tomorrow, but just want to make you aware of that. I do appreciate Evergy being so responsive to us. It was just a blink, so we didn't lose anything from a technology standpoint. But Evergy found the issue right away in this community and then got somebody out. So I appreciate that partnership and then being so responsive. After saying all of that, we still take quite a bit of a hit when we have a power blink because all of our air handlers go off and it's really tough on them. So, I mean, and then you have fire alarms, and the list just continues to go. So, anything that we can try to do to minimize those, we do. I get that it's impossible to prevent it, but anyway, so we'll work with AT&T. Temperature scanners, we've had some issues with those. Those are brand new, just out on the market. A lot of school districts are dealing with the same issues that we are. We have been working with SciTech and the manufacturer on those. SciTech was out last week, and I said, hey, the new version just came out. We've already installed it on all of our devices, and he said, I didn't even know a new version had come out, and the company didn't even know that it had been made available at that point, but we had already installed it. So I feel like we're on top of it. I'm not saying that they're not, but we really do take that serious. They also made some recommendations to make to each scanner, so we've done that. We finished that today, district-wide, so I'm thinking that it's helping with some of those issues, but we'll just continue to see how those behave and then see what updates come out. As you've heard tonight, we have a lot of good things going on in this district. A lot of people have come together in all the different buildings to make everything happen and get devices out. And I got reminded of that today. I did a interview with Kansas Public Radio on school districts in Kansas and what technology departments were facing as far as rolling out devices. And I was quickly reminded that we are blessed here with the support that we have. Because we have some districts in Kansas that are still waiting for devices to get delivered. It's not their fault. But they're not going to get them until October, November timeframe. And we were able to still roll out devices to all of our kids and make that happen day one. Were they brand new devices? No. But were they devices still supported by the manufacturer? Yes. So it's just great that we were able to do that and we had the support to do that. So anyway, that being said, I did receive word this afternoon that our iPads that we ordered will be in on Thursday or Friday this week. So the cases are here. They showed up last week. So we'll have 500 iPads hit Thursday or Friday to unload, and then we'll start getting those ready. And then we'll figure out how we'll get those deployed. So they came in earlier than expected, so that's a good thing.
That's great.
Questions? I'm sure I left out something.
Are you able to deploy software and manage the older devices similar to iPads, or is that more of a manual process?
For the iPads, we can do that. We can deploy apps to all of them. So that's a good thing. The Macintosh laptops are a little bit different for teachers and students. Some of that we can push through our mobile device management system. Other things, it has to be done manually, so it just kind of depends on it, especially if it requires administrative rights on that machine. So we do the best that we can to do it manually, or not to do it automatically, so we don't have to do it manually. We are starting to find out that a lot of companies are removing apps from the App Store and from Google Play Store, and then just making it available on their website. And that makes it a little bit tougher on IT departments, because you can't just say, I want 5,000 copies of this app and push it down. You're going to have to find another way to do apps. So we are starting to see that movement. I don't like that movement. I don't think we're going to stop it. But hopefully the major ones don't go that route. Did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Kristen.
Good evening. I'm going to start with paperwork. The special ed teachers have worked very, very hard to amend every IEP in the district. Paperwork would not be the first thing that I would like them to be working on, but it is a requirement that we need to do, complete, and so they worked very hard on that. And we're now working on how do we write annual IEPs, so those that come up that need to be rewritten every year, in an effort to not have to amend them again if we were to change models. So if we go into remote learning, complete remote learning, how do we write them so we don't have to go back and amend them again? So this has been a process because our special ed teachers are very ingrained in how we do things, and that's been pounded into them by regulations, but we are making progress and we're getting there. And also they are working with kids. So when I went around to the schools on the first day, and I went to 2 schools the day before the first day of school, teachers were ready to see kids. The paras were excited. I was thrilled because this is hard work. And so I was just very excited to see that. And so they're working on that as well, of course. We have a number of special education students in participating in remote learning. So we have assigned a para to each one of those teachers to be the conduit. Excuse me, we're going to have to repair that in a minute. To be the conduit between the special ed teacher and for those kiddos. So they're going to help with the accommodations, modifications, some of the groups that they're going to be doing, small groups, and those kinds of things. We just really needed somebody to make sure we were providing those students with services. So we've done that. We have had a number of transfer in students with special education services, and so we've been working hard to make sure we get those students placed where they need to be in terms of if it's a program or making sure that we're getting those services to those students in a timely fashion. So our school sites have been working really hard to get those kiddos in. And lots of creative teachers. One of the teachers emails me a lot with her contacts to parents, and this is what we're going to be doing. And she said, I apologize for sending you those emails. I just want you to know what we're up to. And I told her, I said, don't stop doing that, because then I lose perspective. And I need to know what you're doing on the front lines. So, boy, creative. They are working really hard to make sure that they see their kiddos and meet their needs. And finally, we dispersed a lot of PPE. Everything from, your normal masks, clear masks for speech and language pathologists, and trifold barriers to do intellectual assessments and things with our psychologists. So we've done a lot of that. And then we also distributed headphones and mics, especially for our teletherapy folks. And so we worked really hard on some of that and trying to make sure they have the equipment they need to be effective. So I think that's about it. Lots going on, lots of hard work on teachers' parts, but they're getting there. They're working and they're enjoying their kids. I think they're glad to have them live in person to see them again. So, any questions? Yes, sir.
I have a couple questions. How many students do you think so far we have on the IEPs?
Well, when I didn't run the numbers Friday or today, but we were at 658 on, I think it was last Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday. That's ticking up daily.
And what do you think the reason is for the number of transfer students with IEPs that are coming into the district?
I've been trying to figure that out myself, because they're not all from this area. We've got students from multiple states. Many of them are from this area, but not all of them. It's been very interesting. I can't say. They are not typically students that are coming into our district from requesting transfers. They are students that are legitimately moving into our attendance area. And we provide good service. That's what I would like to think. But, it's just an uncertain time right now, and I think there are a lot of families in transition and just not maybe quite as stabilized as we normally are. So that's true for all of us. So.
And with the students that are remote on those 2 days a week, how is that? I know we're only in a couple of days here, but how was that last week for the paras as well as the students? Were they able to communicate?
Well, we are still waiting on devices, and this is huge. Not that we could speed that up in any form or fashion. But our paras desperately need the devices to be able to assist in working with students. And so they have a lot of plans, and I think they're doing well right now with what they have. But those paras are instrumental to providing services to our students. And so they're going to be doing like small groups and individual work. So we're waiting on those to get that part into play. But meanwhile, I think the teachers have been real creative in how they're providing that service on the 2 days they're there, and then what they can do when they're at home. So, I think we're making it work. I think when we get those into our paras' hands, that I'm really excited at the prospect of what we can do. It's unfortunately a time that we never thought we'd be dealing with, but there are some neat things that can come out of this instructionally, so I'm excited about that.
As we talked about, when we get those 500 new ones in, those the pairs will be our first people to get them. We've already talked through some of that process.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
then just one more question.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're crazy busy, but is there, for parents that kind of need that extra support because their children need the extra
Mhm.
support,
Mhm.
should they be going to the principal? Should they go to their teacher? Should they go to a parent? Who would be the first contact that they should make?
The first contact would be their teacher.
Okay.
And then from there, they would want to go to their building administration, et cetera. But I've encouraged, and I know that I'm looking at secondary in particular, that Wednesday is a great opportunity to make connections with kids that you might not be able to do on the alternating 2 days because you're busy teaching. And so I've encouraged them to utilize that day, and I've seen some real change in some things that we originally had planned. So I'm excited about that. But yes, start with their teachers, and hopefully we can kind of see where we're at, and if they need additional services, where we can access those. But I've seen teachers really looking closely and outside the box, I think, thinking on how we can utilize especially Wednesdays to do that. So,
Great. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. Anybody else? Thanks.
Thank you. Scott?
Hi, I'm Scott Dial, Associate Superintendent. I'd like to ditto what everyone else said. The best part of last week was seeing kids, and I was up at the middle school. It happened to be right when they were starting lunch, and some former T-South kids walked in, and it was probably the best 15 minutes of the week, talk to them. So everything that we're doing, once you see the kids and the teachers working well together, makes everything worth it. Typically in a normal school year, we start school and then teachers and staff sign up for their benefits. This year is basically at the same time. So thankfully we got just over 600 staff members signed up for all their benefits, and 100% of them, so that was awesome. The staff, definitely appreciate them doing it. The principals help. And the reminders, especially Lisa Davina, who works with me in the central office, and then Amy Helt, who works with KSB's risk management team. But those two were able to do a lot of things behind the scenes, help staff members one-on-one, either log in or answer questions about the benefits. And then we had 2 sessions at the middle school where they could come in and sit with myself, Lisa, Rod, and Amy, and sign up right there. So I definitely appreciate everyone's help, especially Lisa and Amy, who did a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that nobody else sees. Secondly, we're reaching out to some outside online resources to promote our jobs that are open. We have a few harder to fill positions that we're not getting that many applications for. And we tried Twitter and Facebook, so now we're trying like Indeed and Craigslist and so forth. So hopefully in the next week or 2, we'll see some more applicants for that. But overall, it was a good week. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ed?
Ed West, principal at the high school. I can tell you this is my 31st year in education, and never have I been a part of an effort, an initiative that had so many moving parts, and never have I been part of an effort that required so much group effort. And certainly I think we've been successful in doing that. But it's taken every level to make this happen, again, to an extent that I've never witnessed before, starting with your guys' direction and directives, Matt's leadership, and implementing those into a plan, utilizing district and building leadership, and really every level across the organization, inside buildings and outside, to make this happen. And I think we've done a nice job. I've heard some of the other principals talk a little bit about what they've been doing in their buildings in terms of some of the protocol You guys have been in this building a number of times and taken the seating. You may have noticed when you come into the south wing, there's a couple of temperature scanners there. There's 2 of us there. There's also 2 more of us with 2 scanners in the main area, commons area, and then there's 2 more of us in the north wing with 2 scanners. And we also have handheld devices as well. So the wait time for students coming in is in seconds in terms of getting inside the building and then reporting directly to either breakfast or to their first period of the day. During lunch, again, as you see downstairs, that's one of the main areas. We have the 2 cafeteria areas. We have about 80 that can be housed in the lunchroom just down below us here in the south wing. About 100 in the south commons. In most cases, they're well under that. We have serving areas in both locations as well, so students that are here, they don't have to wait in line with the other group too. And so that's working out well. And again, the wait time is just a fraction of what it is normally. So Tara's got a lot of kudos, and I give her one more just for organizing that effort as well in our building to make lunch work seamlessly. Classrooms have about 14 to 16 students each in them that are socially distanced, and again, masks are worn at all times in there as well. We're trying to take advantage of the 3 things that we know work best, and that's wearing masks, social distancing, and washing hands often. And we're trying to use all 3 of those simultaneously in order to give us the best shot of being successful. And again, about 14 to 16 per classroom. It's tight, to be quite honest with you. When somebody wants to make a switch, it's difficult. And again, just to kind of give you an example of that, if somebody in Tecumseh South has a 5th grader that wants to change, or wants us to change because the 5th grader has a last name in group 2, and we've got a freshman in group 1 that wants to switch to group 2, transportation becomes immediately involved. And we also have to make sure that student's schedule allows him or her to have seats in every particular hour. Because you can't get a 15th desk in a classroom that only allows 14 to be socially distanced unless you don't want to socially distance anymore. And we're trying our best to do that, and we've been successful with our counselors. Again, you talk about just the organizational effort to make that happen. Our counselors put in quite a bit of time to do that. Currently, we have 496 students in Group 1, 506 in Group 2, and as of this morning, 148 in the remote learning option. So from a management standpoint, I can tell you everything is going really well. Some of you have been involved in some of our extracurricular activities as well. You've come out and watched, you've been a part of that. They've been highly successful as well. Thank you for that. You've heard many times folks up here in front of me talking about the joy, the excitement of kids in the classroom for both themselves and the teachers under this particular scenario. Could have sent that to coaches and the student athletes and those involved in other activities, the non-athletic activities as well. A lot of excitement. They're good. They're happy to be doing what it is they love to do after school as well as during school. And from an academic standpoint, it's a little harder to tell at this point in time. Today was day 5, but we're monitoring that. We have systems in place to monitor the progress of our students as they move forward, and we'll continue to do so. It feels good. It feels right. But again, from the academic standpoint, we're probably a couple of weeks away. But know that the supports that are in place in the past will still be in place for that, and the effort to make that happen will match the effort in terms of the logistics that have been in place just to open up the school year. So again, thank you. Thanks for your confidence and your willingness to allow us to make this happen. We've done well. We've done well so far. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Katie.
All right, good evening. Katie Bibbins, principal at Tecumseh North Elementary. I don't have very much else to add, aside from what my colleagues have already said. We are doing pretty much the same exact things at all schools. At our school, the only thing that's maybe a little different is we are eating lunch in the classrooms, all classrooms. I've opened up the cafe for our teachers to eat there since they're not able to socially distance in our teachers' lounge. So we push in, I say we because I do lunch duty as well. We push into the classrooms for 30 minutes, so teachers have their 30 minutes of duty-free lunch. The teachers leave, students eat. It's been a really great time connecting with those few kids. Our class sizes are ranging right now from 7 to 12, so anywhere in between there. Being able to connect with those kids has been really great. It's one of my favorite times of the day. Procedural-wise, everything else has gone very similar and really great. That's been the smooth sailing part to all of this. That first day, it was like super anxious time of how it was going to go, but really our systems are in place and things are just going really well right now. So I hope that we can keep going and we can keep with this routine and keep this schedule down so that we can just keep moving forward with what we're doing. So we are currently sitting at 446 students that are enrolled through our ECSE program all the way up through 6th grade. That includes our remote students as well. I know that you had asked Dr. O'Brien about new students coming into the district. We actually have had quite a few families come in this year. About 50 new families have come in to the district. The mobile home complex right there on 6th Street is under new management, and there's lots of new mobile homes that have been put into place in those lots, or people have transferred their mobile homes. I think, Eric, we were actually just talking about this when you were in the building a couple weeks ago. They have actually transferred their homes to that lot, to that park, that complex. So we're seeing a lot of families coming from that area that weren't there before because of the new management. So that's a really great thing for us. We're loving welcoming those new families. Speaking of new kids, the last thing that I will end on a personal note, my two littlest are newest Panthers this year. Lily is in 2nd grade. She's a part of that track A group, so she gets to come to school with her mom, which she still thinks is cool right now. And then Parker is a peer model in the 3-year-old program in the morning. She's my little Spitfire, so took her into class this morning and she announced to everybody, "I'm here!" So that's how she got her day started. And if you guys ever get the pleasure of meeting Parker, you'll know exactly what I mean. So that's been a really great thing for me too, just getting to enjoy that time with my kids driving to and from school. Because other than that, they haven't gotten to see their mom a whole lot lately. But it'll start to slow down once we get to that too. So that's all that I have. Any questions for me and Tecumseh North? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Nathan?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nathan Hofstra, the Director of Support Services. Earlier this evening, you approved a pay app for Schneider Electric. I wanted to go through the high points of the progress meeting that we had this morning, let you know what they've done, where they're at, and where they're going, especially when you approve that much money for paying out. They always give us a 2-week look ahead at what they've got planned. In the lighting portion, they're going to be working down at Barrington on the lighting and commissioning. And then the building automation portion, they're going to be at the high school and Chevs working on controls upgrades. Then they also give us status reports on 3 or 4 sections. Under the lighting status, the high school is 100% complete and the commissioning is complete. Tecumseh North is 100% complete and the commissioning is complete. Middle school likewise. Tecumseh South the same, 100% complete, commissioning complete. And when they say 100% complete at each school, they mean all interior lights. They also mean exterior lights and any outside parking lot lights that we have to replace. Barrington is where they're working now. They're only 30% complete on the lighting. Under mechanical status, Tecumseh North Elementary is complete with the big air handler unit. Under building automation systems, Tecumseh North is complete. They're working on the controls punch list. The high school, they're working on the chiller and all the air handlers are online. The controllers for the rest of the building and for Chevs will ship this week. I know that they're going to be working with Blair. They've got 3 or 4 servers that they need to install. Be getting with Blair and his guys and getting those online. At Tecumseh South, the automation system is online and they're working on the punch list. On building envelope portion, that's all buildings district-wide. They've received the completed punch list from the subcontractor, so that's good. The one main point that I really want to hit tonight is that with the way the school worked out this year, with the COVID and spring semester and stuff, they got a good jump on the project, getting it started. The original completion date was May 31st of 2021. He told me this morning that they're looking at the end of November of this year. So they're going to be 6 months ahead of the completion date. So that was good for that project. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Nathan, so does that mean Tecumseh North is, like, their AC is in perfect condition now, and it's not going to be hot and cold or any of those things?
I'm smiling, you can't see it. Okay, I'm going to just tell you. For the last 3 years, we've been jinxed with the old unit that was up there. It would run perfect during the summer. We would have McElroy's get up there and do the preventive maintenance and check it out and due diligence, and Joe would be on, and the first day of school something would happen to it. It would work perfect all summer for the custodians waxing the floors, and the teachers would come back and it would die. That new unit was up there running perfect for the last month, and about 3 or 4 days before school started, a compressor failed. They'd had a recall on those compressors. Those guys got one over here, got it up on there, got it in. It didn't cost us a penny. And I'm happy to say for the first time in this is the 4th year, it worked perfect on the opening day of school. So yes, it worked perfect. It is working perfect, and I have good faith in it. So that's a good thing.
Fine wood, knock on it.
This is my perfect.
Thank you.
Hey, Nathan.
Nathan, Rocky's got a question.
One quick question. How the buses and the capacity of the buses, were there any issues with, with only one kid per seat with transportation?
It's hard to really look at that yet because we're still doing so many changes. Jafon's been working tons of hours. We ended up having to lock down a date, saying it was about a week or 2 before school started. We said because there was kids wanting to go from the A group to the B group and back again, and multiple times, and then there was new people coming in, late enrollments, and we couldn't get a handle on it. There was no way that we could keep up with it, that many changes. So we locked it down. Jafon did an excellent job getting things set the way they were, and then we reopened it again. She's still down there doing tons of changes. We really won't know anything probably for another couple of weeks the way it's going. We're getting people on, we're getting people to school, and the drivers are doing good with it. Every year, we have all new routes, and the first day of school there's some confusion on part of the students and the parents and part of our side. And of course we started on Tuesday, we had that confusion. Wednesday was a little better, and then Thursday comes along and bam, we start again with all new routes. So you have double confusion that first week. So I think the drivers are doing good, the mechanics are doing good, the buses are doing good, everybody's cranking it, and we're getting it done. So we'll know more in the next couple of weeks, and then they'll get solid, and we'll know really what we have. Anything else before I walk away? All right, thank you.
Tim.
Good evening. My name is Tim Urich. I'm a middle school principal. We'll talk about social distancing and our transmission mitigation protocols first. The big 6: mask, social distancing, clean hands, frequent sanitation, temperature checking, and symptom monitoring. I would say it's going well. We've had 100% compliance with the masks among our students, school workers, teachers, and patrons. Students are doing a very good job. We're doing a lot of positive coaching with the mask wearing. You can't hardly walk down the hallways of the middle school without tripping over a free cloth mask. So we're doing a good job of getting masks in kids' hands. I appreciate the support of our parents so much on that. With the social distance, we encourage practical social distance, so that's 6 feet most of the time. Most of a student's day would be spent 6 feet from another student to try to avoid close contacts. A lot of positive coaching and training there. It starts off at the beginning when you get off the bus and you walk, grab your breakfast, and go into the gym or the commons area. We teach, we coach, we tell the students to stay fingertip to fingertip, but they kind of find their social areas, and so that becomes a little bit easier after routines become established. The students are doing a nice job in all areas of the school. They eat a social distance lunch, of course, staying in line with their feet on the 6 feet apart circles that you see everywhere. Temperature checking is going pretty well. It's a very seamless process. The temperature checkers work okay. They're easier to use for secondary students and elementary students, and they do flag some students. If you flag with a fever, you go into a holding area, receive instructions from the nurse. You're allowed to rest for 10 minutes, and then you have your temperature taken again. Students still get sick for normal reasons besides COVID-19. So those do identify those cases. You take your temperature again as you're going through the lunch line, not because that's required, but because it's convenient. And all students do go through the lunch line. In terms of your hands, your students' hands in this district are cleaner at school now than they ever have been. It's sort of funny, you get a squirt of hand sanitizer when you leave your advisor class at the end of the day. Your hands are dripping wet with hand sanitizer, and you get it again when you get on the bus. So we're doing a good job with that, and I think that transmission mitigation will be mitigated because of those measures. Thank you so much. I appreciate our partnership with our students there. I'd just like to thank the professional teaching staff at Shawnee Heights Middle School for their expertise and professionalism during hybrid learning. It is 2 jobs. If you see a teacher, thank a teacher. They are teaching students who are at school all day, and they are teaching the other 60% who are at home on any given day. 12.5% of middle school students are fully remote, and so those students require a lot of support to be successful. Canvas courses are good, they're intuitive, they're more navigable, and they all attend to essential design elements across the instructional program. Mr. Mickens and I have been surveying those, and we're quite pleased with the efforts of our teachers to create a good student-facing learning product. We wanted to create a condition where students can learn from anywhere and teachers could teach from anywhere, and that's become very important as students have had to go into quarantine and their learning would normally have been disrupted, but it's not because of our learning model. One thing that students, parents are figuring out now that we're entering into our 2nd week is that every lesson is the same whether you're at home or you're at school. That way there's equity. The lessons are short 5 to 9 minute videos with guided notes and frequent checks for understanding. And you can access those through our devices. I've joked with a few people that we're a technology company that happens to provide an educational product. So several of the most important people in my life are my technology director and my building technician, of course, Mrs. Ridinghouse. Thank you so much, Mr. Anderson. Thank you to Chris Hathaway, who's been especially helpful and supportive, Mrs. Ridinghouse, Lisa Doty. One thing that we've done is we've created a lot of content on Canvas to teach kids how to use our devices and our apps and Canvas. It wasn't so many years ago, Lauren Tice Miller was on the site council, and we had a discussion about creating more content to help kids be successful with their technology. And so we have a technology help course with 100 videos organized by app and by topic. And students have watched several thousand hours of those videos. So it's been very helpful. Other quick people to thank. Well, that was developed by Drew Bradshaw, science teacher, and Zach Mickens, special education teacher, who make all that content. I'd like to thank Lisa Doty, Brad Mickens, Jafon, of course, who's been amazing to work with, Ed West, and the other principals. The amount of coordination that we had to do to get these kids rostered in cohorts and on buses was amazing. And I appreciate our professional administrative staff so much. And then, of course, thanks to all the parents. Everybody's getting some in-building opportunity if they want it, and I think that's amazing that we're able to pull this off. So thank you for your support, parents. Thank you. Any questions, board members? Yes.
Great job on the videos that you emailed out. I thought that was awesome. You said that the students are able to access the thousands of videos for Canvas for parents also able to access, and if so, how?
The most simple way for a parent to access the help videos on the technology help course would be through their student's device.
Okay.
You can go through the process of creating a parent account and getting a pairing code from your student, but that iPad goes home every night. And so I would just recommend that, or have your student log in to their Canvas account on another family's machine at home, and then the parent could access them in that way.
Perfect.
Hundreds of videos, they've watched thousands of hours.
Oh,
We're not up to thousands of videos yet, but
We probably have watched thousands. So, thank you. I had a couple parents that have asked that question, so.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to questions, comments from board members, and I would like to start us off tonight by thanking everybody and commending all of you on a job well done. Last week, I saw lots of pictures of smiling faces, and I think in a way everybody kind of let out a sigh of relief a little bit. Everything has started, and you guys got to work some of your kinks out and figure out how to make things better. So I just want to thank all of you sitting here, but also all of our staff and all of our teachers, because you guys have done an amazing job. We thought you were miracle workers before, but now I really know you're miracle workers, so thank you all very much. Any other questions, comments from board members? Rosa.
Thank you. A couple of questions. One is, I was wondering when drug testing would begin and how that's going to look.
You refer that to your request?
We haven't talked much about when or how that's going to occur. We want to kind of get some sort of a roll, get some momentum going. We have to work out a few things also in terms of handling the remote learners as well as their names. We have about the same percentage. That, over 95% of our students will be in the testing pool. So just working out the logistics. If that's what your priority was, I would agree with that right now. Yeah.
Okay. My next question is in regards to sports attendance and masks. How much enforcement is that going to be, at any of our sporting events, especially the football game coming on? I was looking through what some of the other schools are doing in our league, and they talked about it being required or it's recommended, and I don't know how that's going to be enforced in, here at Shawnee.
Yeah, Mr. West, again, you want to step up to Mike and I know we have a process, but I'm not sure what your plan is on enforcement.
That'll be something that'll be likely handled through district staff. We won't be asking our security. Last I heard anyway, Cody's still working on some of those logistics, or he's in charge of the logistics, I should say. So it'll be a staff issue. I think for the most part, it's going to be expected. Certainly, if there are people who are not wearing their mask and they're not socially distanced or they're running around, we'll certainly step in those situations for sure. So we want to make sure that the 6-foot rule and the wearing of masks are taking place inside the facility. It's hard to manage, frankly, especially as people are on the move or as they're leaving to see that happen, or before the event or after the event. It's more difficult. So I think we have probably the best luck of managing that inside the venue during the competition itself.
I know we'll do a lot of announcing and different things, just reminding people. A lot of it's just going to be continually reminding, hey, make sure you're doing your social distancing, make sure you're wearing your mask. We're not out to have a lot of conflict with people, but we do want them to follow the guidelines and rules.
So if there are families that do not bring a mask,
they would have to have one. They would have to have one to get in.
Okay.
Yes, they would certainly have to have one to get in. We would have some supply if they don't have one coming in, if they forget. We want to try to save as much of that supply as we can for the academic day for our students. I think I've only had one that I know of that didn't have a mask. I was actually this morning. So again, we won't run out, but yet definitely would have to have a mask to enter the facility initially.
And should that happen where parents feels uncomfortable because someone is not wearing a mask, who do they look for?
Any of the administrators.
Okay.
Or, adult staff that's around. Again, like Matt said, there'll be a number of announcements made. We were at a lady and Matt was actually there also Thursday night, or last Friday night, excuse me, once. And I don't know, at least half a dozen times or so, the announcement was made, please wear your mask. And everybody was social distance. Imagine, in your mind too, you have to imagine of a crowd, 10% of what you would normally see on a Friday night. Social distancing at that venue was not a problem as well. We were probably 12 feet apart from then there was folks around and there was empty sections as well. So again, we're setting ourselves up for every opportunity for success.
Yeah, I think you were there Friday night, and I think I saw Matt there too. And the crowd, I think, was very compliant. I don't think I saw anybody without masking as hot as it was, just sitting out there.
It was, yeah.
And and then like you said, every opportunity, every dead ball, seemed like they had the announcement and remind everybody to wear their masks. Their audio system there is much better than ours. Ours might sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, which is another topic for conversation at some point. I think everybody understands the time we're in, and there shouldn't be very much conflict at all.
I don't think there will be. I expect very little conflict. Again, I think the excitement, the appreciation to have the opportunity to be there, to be competing, to be supported, whatever your role is at that venue, just like it is at school, is understood. I think everybody there understands that there's other options, including no crowd and or closing the facility and those activities. So I think people are more than willing to accommodate our request in order to have the opportunity for their son or daughter to compete and perform.
Do you have another question? Okay.
Just gonna say one. Saturday we hosted first cross-country meet for the high school here up on campus. Historically, it's been out at Lake Shawnee, and they were able to bring it and have it on our own campus here. And just wanted to thank Coach Bassett. Actually, last year, Coach Walker, middle school cross-country coach, worked with Mr. Mickens in developing that course, and then Bassett worked to enhance it and make it longer for the middle school's 2 miles and high school's 5K, so they had to add an extra 1.1 mile to it. But that worked out extremely well. But also want to thank Joe, and Jason. I don't know Jason's last name, it escapes me. They had to mow and get it striped and get everything set up to host it, and it went extremely well. We had 3 teams here, but also want to thank POS actually provided a timing system for us to make it that much simpler. But it was nice to have it up on our campus. Some of the athletes prefer to have it out at the lake, but it made it nice to have it here. So those guys did a great job, and just want to thank them for their extra work on that. I didn't have anything else going on, so they did an excellent job. So thank you for that.
Seeing no other questions or comments? We don't have an executive session, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Renee motions to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor, show of hands. Renee's hand is up for a 6-0 vote. Thank you, everybody.